Welcome back, my friend. If my tale has stirred your curiosity, be warned, the path ahead grows ever darker. Still, if thy heart is steadfast, then let us proceed.
Youssef left the stall in a daze, unable to comprehend what had just happened. The iron chair, the description of the man, the tree where the stall had been, all led to a strange conclusion. Either Youssef had imagined it all, or something illogical was happening. After all, just 2 days ago, he had obtained a rare manuscript, and he had gotten it from a man who had been dead for 17 years. It seemed he was getting dangerously close to a mental breakdown. The first thing Youssef did upon arriving home was to check if the manuscript was still there. Despite everything, a small part of him suspected he might have been hallucinating, that he hadn't bought anything at all. But there it was. He did find it, though a part of him wished he hadn't. If he hadn't found it, he could have written it all off with a simple explanation. He was mad and imagining things that didn't exist. Youssef immediately began scanning the manuscript. While he was engrossed in the task, his phone rang.
Salam, Youssef.
How are you, Ahmed?
Praise be to Allah. All's well. Something just occurred to me that might help us a lot with the manuscript you're trying to trace.
Tell me.
I have a relative with extensive knowledge of ancient languages. He's read a lot about magic, old European history, and ancient civilizations. What do you think about visiting him and showing him the manuscript? He might be of great help.
Who is he?
My uncle. He's been estranged from my family for many years.
Why?
It's a long story. What do you say we go see him tomorrow after our classes?
Agreed.
The two agreed to meet the next day. Youssef finished scanning the pages, then collapsed onto his bed from exhaustion. Youssef was sleeping on his left side, still as a rock. Suddenly, he gave a small twitch, then another, and a third. If we moved closer and looked into his eyes, we'd see his pupils darting rapidly beneath closed eyelids. He was deep in a dream now. Let's get closer. Let's see what he's dreaming. Youssef was standing before a massive throne, gilded with gold. Around the throne, fire burned in some places and flickered out in others. He looked around and saw that the throne was surrounded by water on all sides, and the darkness of night was complete, except for the firelight. Then suddenly, a voice rose around him, a hissing voice, echoing from nowhere and everywhere at once.
Helia, those who hear in the valley of Karnim, by your master and by your fate to come, unbind Ibn Za'at, unbind Ibn Za'at, unbind Ibn Za'at. Fidahat Musama al-Bak, until he is brought forth, your Lord will burn you. By the name of Wasil Mashmoho, Beidar, Mukalabi.
The voice kept repeating those words until it stopped. Then Youssef heard the sound of metal, like heavy iron chains dropping to the floor. Loud, very loud. And here was the worst part. Youssef knew he was dreaming, right from the beginning. He tried waking up, again and again, but something was holding him in place. He started thinking, where have I heard those words before? The dream moved along like a movie, and he just watched, helpless, trapped. Then 4 men appeared walking toward the golden throne. They were shackled and moved like they were hypnotized. They stood facing the throne, turning their backs to Youssef. They looked different from each other, but every one of their faces showed the same quiet sorrow, as if they had done something terrible.
I want to get out of here. This is a nightmare. I need to wake up.
He smelled burning flesh. He saw the 4 men dripping sweat, smoke rising from their skin, their faces melting. The scene turned into pure hell. Youssef felt like his own body was burning too. He screamed and finally woke up. What just happened? Youssef was finally awake. He stared at the ceiling, trying to convince himself he was okay. His lips automatically began whispering verses from the Quran. Then he noticed his sheets were slightly damp, his body drenched in sweat as if he'd been in an oven. A fever? Maybe the dream caused it, or maybe the room was hot. But wait, it couldn't be the weather. It was mid-January, deep winter. He looked at the clock. 2 a.m. He needed to sleep again, or he'd never make it to class in the morning. He recited more prayers, calming himself down, and thought,
I'll try to remember the dream when I wake up. But for now, I need to sleep.
Youssef fell back asleep, and soon soft snoring filled the room. You'd think only a serial killer could fall back asleep after a nightmare like that. The next day, Youssef was sitting on a bench waiting for his girlfriend, Habiba. They had agreed to meet in one of the college courtyards. He couldn't help but remember the disturbing dream from last night.
What a dream. I don't usually dream, and when I do, it's just random nonsense. I forget the moment I wake up. But that wasn't a dream. That was a movie. A nightmare. There was a golden throne. Does that mean I'm going to rule the country? And those strange words I heard echoing, they were from the manuscript. But here's the thing, I never memorized those words. I only read them once, barely understood them. So how did my mind pull them into the dream exactly like that? And the 4 figures I saw, they were the 4 from the manuscript. It doesn't add up. What's even more confusing, when I woke up, my body was drenched in sweat, burning hot. It felt real. In the dream, I was melting like them. But how could that feeling bleed into the real world? Why did I feel like I was melting too? What is happening to me?
Hey, Youssef. How are you?
Youssef looked up, and for a moment, everything faded. Habiba, the girl he'd known since his first year. Elegant, calm, always in her hijab, always so put together. To him, she was an angel, the one person who could help him forget his troubles. She looked stunned as she listened to Youssef tell her everything. How he bought the manuscript, how he found out the old man who sold it had died years ago.
Want my opinion?
Of course.
I don't feel good about this. I don't know why, but something about all this just feels wrong. And honestly, what's happening to you is scary. Youssef, just get rid of that manuscript. End this. You're not gaining anything from it.
Youssef looked down at the ground, thinking hard. Maybe she was right. Maybe it was time to get rid of the manuscript, or at least pass it on to someone else, someone willing to deal with its burden. Maybe it was time to let it go. Right after his meeting with Habiba, Youssef realized it was almost 2 p.m. He quickly made his way to the lecture hall where he'd agreed to meet Emad. The two left the university together, heading toward Emad's uncle's house. On the way, Emad began telling Youssef more about his uncle.
You never really told me what happened with your uncle. Why did your whole family cut him off?
Honestly, I don't remember much. I was just a kid when it happened. My Uncle Emad used to live with us, actually, in our apartment. He even had his own room. He was fun, always joking and playing with me. He used to tell me these wild, creepy stories. Legends, I think. But so terrifying that my mum used to scold him for it. Said those weren't stories a kid should hear. And I remember his room. All the walls were lined with bookshelves packed with books. I used to just stare at them in awe. My grandma and dad always said he was brilliant, completely self-taught. He studied history, legends, and even magic. I think that's where things started to go wrong. I used to hear whispers about him performing experiments from those books. No one ever told me exactly what happened. Whenever I asked, they'd avoid the topic. Wait, what happened exactly? One night, I remember hearing a loud commotion in the apartment. Everyone rushed out of their rooms. The furniture was shaking, floating, like someone was pulling it into the air. My uncle's door was locked, but there was this strange glowing light seeping through the keyhole and under the door. That's all I remember. After that night, Uncle Emad left. He moved out and no one ever spoke to him again.
So basically, we're heading to see a sorcerer.
Watch it. That's still my uncle, you idiot. And anyway, I told you, he studied history and ancient languages. I don't think he's into magic. Not in that way, at least.
Youssef and Emad stood in front of an old apartment door. Emad rang the bell. A few moments later, the door opened and a man in his late 30s appeared. He was wearing a rolled-up shirt and a pair of jeans. His build was athletic, and his face had a distinct, striking sharpness. The man looked at the two young men standing before him. His eyes settled on Emad, and he stared for a few seconds before a warm smile slowly stretched across his face.
Ahmad,